Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Judge Jeanine Pirro, Jessica Tarlov, Jesse Waters, and she almost drowned at the beach, but the lifeguard threw her a Cheerio. Dana Perino, The 5.
All right, guys. No, there's no such thing as a quick one. I'm out of here. Thank you all very much.
Inspirational. President Biden cutting his losses after a dumpster fire press conference where he tried to convince the world everything under his leadership is just dandy. The latest Real Clear Politics average puts him at 38% approval, the lowest of his presidency so far. Biden getting asked why so many Americans think the country is on the wrong track, but all he could muster up was his usual nonsense on Russia and bogus claims about inflation.
I can understand why the American people are frustrated because of inflation. But inflation is higher in almost every other country. Prices at the pump are higher in almost every other country. We're better positioned to deal with this than anyone, but we have a way to go. Ultimately, the reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia.
How long is it fair to expect American drivers and drivers around the world to pay that premium for this war?
As long as it takes. So Russia cannot, in fact, defeat Ukraine and move beyond Ukraine.
Jeez Louise. And the guy who helped Obama get elected thinks Joe isn't cut out for this line of work.
When the president got into those questions, gas prices and inflation and abortion rights, there was a lot less of that certainty, a lot less of that emphatic nature of his initial presentation on NATO, because he doesn't have great answers.
And as things go south, Biden is being forced to apply for the job he already has. The president has been trying to convince Democrats at fundraisers that he is ready for 2024, arguing that he's the only one who can beat Trump. Apparently, Jessica is hoping that Trump runs. You know, do you believe he's running in 2024? Be honest. Let's pretend we're not on TV right now. We're just over at a bar having a drink.
Well, this would not be what I would talk about. Yeah, if we were just over at a bar having a drink. I actually do think that he is planning on running in 2024. He's in excellent health. I think he does have a strong case based on 2020 that he is the only one who could beat Trump.
What's your definition of excellent health?
I think you could probably run for longer than I could.
Yes, but, you know, so could a clock. But you need something with a brain.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just going to shift a little bit here.
Yes.
I think what's always interesting when you see David Axelrod or David Plouffe talking about these things is you see the real fissures between Obama world and Biden world. And they're getting a little bit of those jabs. There's still some resentment, obviously, about what happened in 2016 and Hillary not winning and carrying on Obama's legacy, and genuine concern that in 2024, if it is anyone but Trump, I think that Trump is the easiest candidate for the Democrats to beat in 2024, that we will end up losing. He is correct, though, about these bad answers. And I really don't know why Biden can't just say it's a really tough time. And it's a tough time in a lot of countries, and we don't have to compare them. You don't have to say we have, you know, we're doing better than these places. You're over there presenting as a unit, right, with your NATO allies. Just talk about that and just say everyone is suffering. This can't be all Russia's fault. We do know about gas production actually increasing in the United States, but just own it a little bit. And Americans will smile fondly upon that. They're cool with the honest truth about it. And it doesn't mean necessarily you'll win the election, but you won't have these news cycles about being detached from reality that are obviously not helpful to the presidency.
He can't help it, though. That's the problem. I mean, you're asking him to change his stripes, and he could barely change his pants. Jesse, so here we just have him admit, okay, we know that we have hyperinflation. We know that we've got a crime wave. We know we have general malaise. He basically just said, yeah, we're in it. We're going to pay for a never-ending war. You're going to have to suck it up. That's pretty incredible.
That's the policy. His policy is to bog Russia down in Ukraine and bleed them dry.
And they're doing great.
And it could take years.
Yes, and Russia is, their ruble's doing fine.
So to the American driver, that doesn't sound like that's a plan to reduce gas prices. It looks like that's no plan at all. This thing's going to go on forever. His policy is basically like, things are bad, not as bad as Mexico, and none of it's my fault, and I have no plans to fix it. You can't tell the American people that. You can't tell the American people inflation's bad, but it's worse somewhere else. We don't live somewhere else. We live here in the United States of America. That's like saying, don't worry about crime. You should see Brazil.
Yep.
We don't live in Brazil. We live here. And then he keeps on saying, oh, well, you know, it's Russia's fault with the gas and the inflation. The Fed chair last week came out and said it's not. So he's just kind of walking right through a blown-up talking point, getting shrapnel all in his calves, and he's like, he doesn't even feel it. He's oblivious to the fact that he's making no sense at all. He's been to Europe at least twice. Has he ever been to an oil rig? Has he ever been to the border? Has he ever been to a baby formula factory? Has he ever been anywhere in this country where people say, yeah, that's where you should be? No, he loves flying across the Atlantic and talking about NATO.
Yeah, he hasn't been our border, but he knows the Ukrainian border quite well, Judge. So it looks to me like we're going to be paying for a foreign war for a long time while we suffer. Gas prices aren't going away. They're going up.
You know what the amazing part of it is? You remember when the president said that he was going to be the adult in the room? He uses every excuse, like a child's excuse. Like you heard him say when he was asked a question at the press conference, I'm out of here. You know, that's like a kid picking up his ball and his bat and saying, I'm out of here. I'm not playing with you anymore. Or, you know, this whole thing, and no, he did it. I didn't do it. He did it. It's his fault. I mean, he really forgets the fact that he gave a waiver for the Nord Stream to allow Russia to get some oil and start the war. I mean, he doesn't take any responsibility for that. He doesn't take any responsibility for the fact that he is lying. He's openly lying to the American people about everyone's inflation is worse than ours. That is a fact. That is something that can be statistically proven. And he just says it and he gets away with it. And he doesn't understand why people aren't out there saying, Joe, go get him. Joe, you're the best. You've got a depressed country right now in the United States. You've got a fearful country. You've got families who are worried about drugs coming through the border. And, you know, the president can't even give us good news. It's like, how long are we going to have to pay these prices? Oh, I don't know. It's all about the war. It's Russia, Russia, Russia. Well, that didn't work for the first 4 years of Trump's term, but so they're going to try it again, and it's not going to work.
But in his defense, we supported the war in Ukraine, so he's just giving us what we want. Do you want to hear from Hillary?
Sure.
All right. Hillary, what do you think?
And if he decides to run, he's a sitting president. And, you know...
Would you endorse him?
Look, I would endorse our sitting president. Yes, of course. I mean, you know, this is a silly question. So let's go with the person most likely to win. Joe Biden beat, in a huge landslide victory in the popular vote, Donald Trump. I think that says a lot.
What do you think?
Well, so she's out there, but also Governor Pritzker of Illinois, he's out there today. He said... basically put it out on the table that he wants to primary him, that he's going to run. So the president is coming back to the United States with no good answers. Like, there are ways to bring down gas prices while you also support the war in Ukraine. Yep. You could drill for more here.
Right,
but that's never going to be an answer that he can provide. So you actually can do that. He just won't do that. Instead, what's the next trip he's taking? It's not to the border. It's to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. And also, you have people in his administration making a little trip down to Venezuela, supposedly to talk to one of the Americans being held there, but you know, we also know that they were going to see if Venezuela could start pumping more oil. A big deal amongst Democrats today is this piece by Ryan Grimm at The Intercept it's called The Elephant in the Zoom, and it's all about the internal fighting amongst the Democrats. That's where the real political fight is. I mean, they always like to talk about the Republicans, but this is a fracturing party. And I absolutely think that you're going to see a primary. Hillary, I don't think she's going to run necessarily, but she loves to be out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.